there, it's Pete Thorn. Welcome to my studio. Thanks for joining me. I'm back at home. Time for another Wednesday Q&A. So I'm gonna get right to it. Oh, go to Facebook, facebook.com/guitarnerd. You can send me a message there, ask me a question. I'll get to it as soon as I can in one of these videos. Alright, so I'm going to try and answer a ton of questions in this video, so more questions, shorter answers. Here we go. This is from Ray. Ray says he wants to know what my computer setup is for recording. Do I use a laptop or desktop? Well, Ray, here in the studio I've got an older, it's like 2009, 2010 Mac Tower. So it's like an 8-core Mac Tower, loaded up with 1 GB drives for system and for backup, and then also for my audio and for my samples. So it's like tricked out and loaded up, but it's getting pretty old. It's time to get a new computer. I'm still using Firewire 800 for audio with my Apollo 8 UA interface, and I want to definitely move to using Thunderbolt, which I'm already equipped for in the interface. So yeah, looking forward to maybe getting the trash can, a new Mac. I'm gonna have to get a bunch of external drives, I guess. Maybe get some 1 terabyte or 500 gigs solid state externals for my samples and audio and that sort of thing. Just go for it. I need a faster computer for video editing because my computer gets bogged down making these videos, and anytime I'm doing multicam things in my demo videos, it's like a pain in the ass with the old computer I've got to blend different camera angles and stuff on the old computer. Just doesn't quite keep up. So yeah, new trash can Mac Pro is in my future, as well as a new laptop. I have an older 2011 laptop, and it works pretty good, but I really want a kick-ass, like really nice fast laptop for home and for the road that I can actually do music on. And I do some demos on that laptop, like any of the hotel room sort of videos you've seen me do, where I do demos and stuff like that on the road. Those were done on that laptop, and I make it work, but it's definitely sort of a slower machine. So time for a new laptop and a new Mac Pro as well very soon. Okay, Martin from Germany, he's got a Friedman Smalbox 50 combo. He sets up channel 1 kind of clean, and he sets up channel 2 for kind of a JCM 800 style breakup. For those that don't know, the Smalbox has one channel it's kind of clean like a Plexi, and then the other channel is Dave's Brown Eye or BE channel, more gainy, sort of modded Marshall. Okay, so the pedal that I would recommend for you that would be really versatile and useful is a JHS Sweet Tea. The Sweet Tea has one channel that is like a Marshall Governor style overdrive, which is basically sort of like a JCM 800 type sort of mid-gain overdrive. And then the other side of the Sweet Tea is like a tube screamer. So it's a super versatile pedal. Great for anybody that's just got a 1-channel clean amp, because you can use the Governor sound as sort of your dirty rhythm sound, and then hit it with the tube screamer style sound to get more sustain and that MIDI thing that tube screamers do for leads. But yeah, this would be a great pedal for your amp, because of course you're going to be able to use the Governor sound on channel 1 to get in a nice kind of rhythm grind, and then on channel 2 you can hit it with the tube screamer once again, boost it over the top, and sound really cool for leads. Okay. Let's see, Alex has a Alex Vaca. He's got a Taylor 310. He wants to upgrade the internal pickup in it. So he's wondering about the LR Baggs Anthem system and the K&K Trinity. What would sound really natural and just be, sort of an upgrade acoustic tone over whatever came stock in the 310. I use the Anthem in my Martin. I love it. It sounds really great. It's very natural sounding. So I'm not familiar with the K&K system. I'm not sure about it, but I can vouch for the Anthem. I think it's really cool. I went and got it installed at McCabe's in Santa Monica and bought it from them as well. And in McCabe's, it's really cool. They have some acoustic guitars loaded with a whole bunch of different pickups in them. So they've got like all these different systems and then just different jacks, and you can just plug these guitars in and instantly compare all these different acoustic pickups. I thought that was really cool. Yeah, one of them being the Anthem, and it definitely sounded the best to me out of everything they had there in the store. So that's how I got the Anthem. The other thing that you might want to try that's really cool, and that I've been doing a little bit these days, I played a gig with Chris Cornell back in January here in LA, and I did this for the first time on the gig, and it was so cool. So I had my Takamine acoustic guitar, and it sounds good. It's got a good Takamine pickup in it. It's a nice sort of upper end. I've got the guitar here, actually. I'll show you. What else? Ah! almost a disaster. Okay, so yeah, this is my TAC Mini. Sounds really, really good. This guitar plays great. I love it. Got one of their, you know, full featured kind of preamps in it and everything, but still has that sort of plugged-in bridge pickup sort of sound. You know, you can't get away from that. So what I did was in my Helix, my Line 6 Helix, I found online that you could find them too. They're out there. An impulse response of a mic'd acoustic guitar, and the one I found was actually of a mic'd up Taylor guitar. It was a mic'd 312 or something like that, and the type of microphone that was used was a Sheps. And so yeah, I downloaded that and I loaded it into the Helix because it hosts impulse responses, and you know, set it 100% wet, plugged my guitar into the Helix and listened, and it was just like, that sounds amazing. It added so much realism and depth to the pickup sound of this guitar. I mean, it was like incredible, like nothing I'd ever heard out of any type of pickup system or preamp or fancy whatever in the guitar. And I literally, you know, downloaded this thing for free and then loaded it in the Helix, which I already had, and it was like, wow, that is just unbelievable. And so I took it to rehearsal and I used it on the gig, and everybody, I mean, the sound guy was like freaking out. The drummer was like, that guitar sounds incredible. Like, how are you doing that? It just sounded like a, you know, a beautiful mic'd up guitar in the studio. So that's something to investigate too, using impulse responses on acoustic guitars. This is something I know Alex Lifeson has been doing. So when you see him live and he's playing like Closer to the Heart and it's on a Les Paul, he's got a, you know, one of those Fishman style tunimatics that's got acoustic pickup in the bridge on his Les Paul, and he's using in the Axe Effects impulse response slide, he's got a you know, some sort of mic'd up acoustic guitar impulse. So I know he's doing that. I don't know if anybody else is, but that's a, you know, really cool, forward-thinking, interesting thing to try if you've never tried it. Okay, moving right along. Let's see here. Elvind, he's got a Port City cabinet. It's a Port City oversized 212. Now those cabinets are ported. They've got, hence the name Port City, I guess, but they've got a really unique design that gives them a very clear, sort of open sound. And he likes the cabinet, but he says it sounds kind of hi-fi to him, and very accurate and hi-fi, but he's wondering about maybe something that's got a little bit more punchy mids. It sounds like he wants a little bit more of a traditional sort of 412 type tone, and that's what he'd be more happy with. He tried his amp is an Egnet Rebel, and he tried a 112 cab, I assume closeback, loaded with a Celestion Classic 80, and he says it sounded more boxy with less bottom end, but that it sounded sort of meatier and more rock and roll to him, with less spiky highs. The Port City cab has V30s in it, so that could be part of the spiky thing. They're kind of spiky. So what do I recommend? How's he gonna? Well, you know, this is kind of a difficult question. He plays mostly at home, he says. I'm going to say that the boxy thing about the 112 is, of course, it's a 112. It's smaller, and they do tend to sound a little more boxy if you're used to an oversized 212. Maybe what you want is just a kind of a traditional oversized 212 that's got a... So maybe for you it's... Hey, we've got the PT100 cab from Sir that works great. The Sir closeback 212. It's got two Celestion Creamback 75s in it. It sounds huge, really, really great. It's not oversized in it's oversized in depth, so it's quite deep, almost as deep as a 412. But it's, you know, sort of traditional 212 size. Other than that, you could also try a Bogner oversized 212, which would be about the same size as your Port City cab, I would think. And they've got a lot of beef and meat. They're a little more like I like that cabinet. It's a little cloudier sounding than the Sir 212. That's what I found, because I listened to one when we were designing the you know, my signature amp cabinet. But it's a cool cabinet nonetheless, and does that kind of like gets into the realm of a 412 without being quite so big. As far as the speakers go, maybe you're not a V30 guy if you found your cabinet spiky. So maybe you want to try either the classic lead 80, Greenback 75 is another one that I really like. I think it's a terrific sounding, very versatile speaker, and yeah, it's not going to have that upper mid or treble spike of the V30 speaker. Okay, next up from Brian. He's had an operation recently, and he saw my video on reactive load boxes. He's hoping to do some recording during recovery from his operation. He says he can't seem to find one to buy anywhere. Well, there's lots of places that sell the Sir reactive load. I know that they've kind of been tough to get because they were very popular, and actually when the Sir guys started making them, they didn't. They were blown away with the response, so it was like they've had to really try and crank up production and get them out there to the stores. But they're out there. You can find that box at, like, off the top of my head, I know Humbucker Music brings them in, Matt's Music, do a search for a couple of those stores online. I think Matt's is in, where is it? It's in Massachusetts. I've been there once. Or Humbucker Music's another store that seems to sell a lot of the Sir reactive loads. If you're looking for another, like the Fryette or Rivera Rock Crusher, who else? Of course, the two-note units, two-note torpedo units are excellent as well. These are all things that you're going to be able to buy online. Sweetwater is a great resource. Of course, Vintage King, who I've done a ton of videos for, they should be stocking the Sir reactive load as well. There's just some ideas for mail order, so look into that. Okay, this fella's name I can't pronounce it. I'm going to butcher it, so I'm just going to spell it. It's B-A-L-A-Z-S, and I wish I could say your name. I'm sorry, my friend. Anyway. He's got a situation where he's got a 50-watt angle tube amp, but it's too heavy to carry around for the gigs that he's doing with his pedal board. He needs a more portable setup, but he occasionally needs to play unmiked, so he needs something that's loud enough that he can do a gig without a mic on the amp. He says it's a wedding band. He needs a wide range of tones, and he uses all 3 channels on the angle. Along with a couple of overdrive pedals, etc. Okay, so first up, he's got a second part to this question. The first part, I'm going to say you're a prime candidate for a Kemper profiler with a power amp built in. It's light, it's small, you can pick it up with a handle, and it's like 600 watts, and you can get a gazillion different sounds. So start looking into maybe a Kemper profiler as a good option, nice light gigging option that sounds basically the same at any volume. Yeah, so that would be my recommendation there. As far as, let's see, the second part to his question is he wants some Lukather style articulate high gain tones out of a pedal, and he's wondering about the Bogner Red. I would think that that is an excellent choice. I mean, Steve's actually using the Bogner Ecstasy amp now, so Ecstasy Red would be, when I think of the Lukather solo sound, that would be a pedal that for sure comes to mind. It's a really nice high gain pedal, sounds really good. Other ones to investigate, maybe I'm going to say the Sir Riot or Riot Reloaded. It's a nice high gain pedal. It's got a great smooth sort of high gain solo sound. Yeah, look into those two, and I think you'll have it covered. Okay, Matt asks, he plays in a band and he's got 3 overdrives on his board. An Oddfellow Caveman, a Marvel Drive, and a Sweet Cream. Because of the range of songs he plays, he needs a tonal scope that's wide, and he uses the guitar volume as well to kind of get different gain levels. He's having problems balancing the volume of his drives, he says. He doesn't mic up, but when he does, sometimes that's a problem because he blasts out the PA. I guess he means like sometimes his pedals are too loud on certain sounds and it's too loud in the PA. Okay, if you got 3 different overdrives, here's what you got to do. Set your amp up clean and get a great sound, and then set your pedals all up, and now what you got to do is just play a chord and turn on and off the drives and play the same chord and listen. That's what I do every gig I do, because I've got a 3-channel amp, and on the clean channel of my amp I use like a Jan Ray overdrive. Sometimes I use a Bogner Blue to get alternating gain sounds to the channel 2 on my amp. So I'm constantly playing through all my presets at sound check, balancing the channels of my amp to make sure that everything's all balanced. Of course, I mark all my settings once I've found a good sort of approximate. But yeah, it's great to just play a chord, listen to them all, make sure they're all approximately the same volume. Sometimes you're going to want a sound that's a little louder, like for leads. Or sometimes for my dirty rhythm sound, I want it to punch up a little bit over top of the level of my clean, because I know that if I'm hitting a dirty rhythm sound, that means the whole band's rocking a little bit harder and the drummer's laying in a little bit more and playing a little louder and stuff like that. So, you know, you want to think about that in advance and kind of compensate by setting the level. But really, it's just using your ears, man. You gotta just you know, and if there's anybody there to help, you know, ask them. Like, say, hey, you know, it's the sound guy, if there's a sound guy, obviously, but, you know, another band member or something, just say, can you listen to this and tell me, when you stand in front of my amp, does it sound like all these sounds are the same level? I know there's a thing sometimes where when you're actually playing, it's hard to tell. Give the guitar to somebody else and let them play and go through the sounds, and it can become more apparent. I don't know what that is, but it's a strange phenomenon that happens. But that's all you can really do. Just one sound after another, compare them all, do it at every sound check, try and get them all balanced, and you should be in business. Okay, next up, somebody from Russia, and the email came in, and the name was written in Russian, so I for sure can't say your name because I can't read Russian. But very nice person, says he subscribes to my channel on YouTube, and I have a great sound, and he likes many of my tricks. Thanks. So he's got a question about, he likes his amp at high volume, but it's too loud for practice and play in small clubs. How do I feel about attenuators? Which ones do I like? Have I tried the Weber Mass Lite? I had a Weber Mass years ago. I wasn't crazy about it. Honestly, the attenuator of choice for me these days is the Friedman Power Station. I love that thing. It's great. It's a reamper. So it's a load box that loads your amp down to line level, no sound, and then runs the signal back into a all-tube power amp that's very flat and very neutral. And then you just bring up the volume on that power amp, and you can get your amp tone at any volume. You've loaded your amp down to, you know, line level. Now, the other advantage, of course, with a system like that is you can have like a 5-watt amp and you can increase the volume. So it basically makes anything from a 100-watt head all the way down to a 1-watt head usable in a live situation, because you're loading down the original amp sound to line level, and then you're reamping it back up with a highly controllable 50-watt sort of hi-fi tube power amp. So love it. Sounds great. Got no complaints about the Friedman Power Station. Okay, Planeta says, do I think that it's possible to become a good guitar player without a teacher? You know, it's always good to have somebody to bounce things off of and to correct mistakes in your technique and stuff, but there is plenty of players out there that were completely self-taught, and nowadays it's got to be easier than ever because of YouTube and all the lessons you can get online and everything. You know, you can become I would think, a pretty competent guitar player, I mean, without, you know, ever leaving your basement. Look at some of these kids we see on YouTube that are like 6 years old and playing this insane stuff. I just know it's because they're sitting there watching lessons all day and, you know, figuring things out online. It's an incredible time for that. So I think it's probably quite possible to become a fantastic guitar player, possibly for free these days, without having to pay for a single lesson, by just watching great YouTube guitar lessons. Now, that doesn't equate to real world kind of gigging experience and getting out, because that's a whole nother, you actually have to get out with people and play to you know, learn what that's all about. Because as soon as you get in a gigging situation or playing with other musicians, it's just a whole nother ball of wax. You guys in bands know what I mean. It's like, you know, oh, all of a sudden I got to play with a drummer. I need to, you know, lock to someone else's time. I can't just do my own thing. Or, you know, I need to play dynamically, or, you know, that kind of thing. So, no substitute for that. All right. James wants to know, he wants to incorporate an Ottawa into his rig that has some tap tempo facilities. Not sure what that means, like tap tempo with an Ottawa, but anyway, without reaching axe effects levels of cost. The only thing he seems able to find, which has both versatility and sound quality, is the Strymon Mobius. And do I recommend it or anything else? The Mobius is a fantastic solution. You know, Mobius, just great modulation effects across the board. The Ottawa is great. I use that thing, I've used it on numerous gigs actually. It's funny, sometimes I want a wah sound, but whoever I'm playing with on tour, they want me to, you know, walk to a different part of the stage or something, be at the front of the stage, or, you know, that kind of thing. And that's happened to me now on 2 different tours. I wanted the wah and I couldn't be by my pedal board, so I used the wah and the mobius and the auto wah, and it was super cool. It sounds great. So I'm familiar with using that auto wah. I think it works really good. And of course you're going to be able to get great chorusing, flanging, rotary, all kinds of special effects and stuff like that with the mobius as well. So it's kind of a no-brainer. Rodrigo says he's got a Les Paul. It's the only guitar he's on with a hardtail bridge. He must miss having a tremolo because he says he's thinking about putting a Bigsby on it. If I have any experience doing this to my other guitars, he doesn't want to affect the sustain or sonic character of the guitar. He just wants to have a tremolo. I don't know if I'd do that. You know, I would try and find a Les Paul that has a Bigsby on it and try it and see what you think, definitely. Trems on Les Pauls are just a pain, man. It's really hard to keep a Les Paul in tune with a tremolo on it, with the 3 on a side or a fanned string pull with the headstock design of a Les Paul. And also, if you're happy with the guitar and you like the tone, you don't want to change it, certainly, removing the tailpiece and bolting a great big piece of metal to the guitar, and it's kind of a somewhat irreversible mod as far as keeping the guitar original, because there's screw holes that need to be drilled. I don't know, man. I think I would for sure try another Les Paul that's got a Bigsby on it. And if you love that thing, then then maybe you want to go for it. Maybe it's your deal, but don't do it without investigating that first and making sure it's for you. Okay, last question today is going to be from Henrik. He's got a question about wireless. It sounds like he plays in pubs and stuff like that, and he uses backing tracks. He's got a Strat and an acoustic, and he uses a wireless system with a couple different packs, and switches the pack on and off when he's switching guitars and that kind of thing. So his main question is he just wants to know about setting up the wireless to sound like a cable. It's a Shure wireless of some sort he's using, and he's wondering if I adjust the levels and all that of the wireless to try and get it sound as close to a chord. Basically, here's the thing about wireless. Back in the day when there was only analog wireless available, there was all these FCC regulations and stuff like that, and with wireless technology, because of all the regulations, they had to severely sort of limit the dynamic range that a transmitter could put out of a signal. And so there was all these technologies like companding and expanding that I don't really understand, but the compander kind of shrinks the signal down, and then on the other end where the receiver is, it gets expanded again, and you end up with the sound. Now, the resulting sound many times of analog wireless was sort of not like a cable. I could always hear a difference. Sometimes the volume control on the guitar wouldn't respond the same way because of the expanding and companding and all that. And it was just always sort of problematic. Everybody sort of resigned themselves to the fact that maybe wireless doesn't sound as good as a cable, but you use it because, you run around the stage and all that. With newer digital systems, starting back to 2007 is when I started with digital wireless. I used the original X2 system. The X2 company was then bought by Line 6, and they have incorporated that technology, and they make their own line of wireless units now. They're all digital. With the digital technology, all of a sudden you can make wirelesses that were relatively cheap, like X2 is $300-400, I think, that sounded virtually identical to a cable. Just like perfect sounding wireless, basically. Very inexpensive. And the reason is because there's an analog to digital converter on one end on the transmitter, and a digital to analog back on the other end of the receiver, and it's just ones and zeros in between. They didn't need to use any of that companding and expanding technology and all that. It's completely different technology. So the signal was so much truer to basically what you get out of a good short guitar cable. Kind of revolutionary, really, was what it was. As far as setting up the tone of the wireless to be the same, most digital wirelesses don't even have. Some of them have output level controls on the receiver that allow you to kind of boost or cut the output. My AKG system that I have does that, but the packs on my AKG, there's nothing to kind of compensate for. There's no like level boost on the transmitter or anything like that. So what I'm getting at is that it's kind of a plug and play system audio wise. You shouldn't have to do anything to kind of compensate for the sound of these newer digital systems to make it sound more like a cable. Most of them are very simple to set up and just sort of plug and play. On some of the Line 6 units, they have this thing called cable tone that basically like is a bit of a high-end roll-off that simulates the capacitance that a cable adds to your guitar sound. And that can be kind of cool. You can kind of set it at a 15-foot or 20-foot setting, get a little bit sort of warmer signal. It sort of has the effect of being a little more mid-forward. And some people like that because that, you know, if you use a 20-foot guitar cable and that's what you're used to, it gets you, you know, that much closer to that thing. But yeah, I don't really get involved in any of that stuff. With these new systems, they're, you know, right out of the box, you can generally just plug in the levels right. It's kind of one-to-one unity gain. Sounds great. So that's what I think about that. Only other thing I'll mention is that with wireless systems these days, on many of the big tours that I'm doing, especially overseas, I've noticed that you've got basically a frequency they will give you every day, like the powers that be, the monitor guy or whatever who's in charge, and they'll tell you, this is the frequency you need to set your wireless system to. So it'll be like 547.2, and that's the, you know, gigahertz or whatever that you got to set your wireless to. So because of that, if you're doing these tours, you need a pro wireless that has, you know, virtually, you know, unlimited selectable frequencies. My AKG, I think, can do like 6,000 frequencies or something like that. Reason for this is that there's so much wireless in some of these environments with, you know, everybody from musicians to dancers to crew people and all these people that are using in-ear wireless systems now, as well as, of course, all the players that, you know, have wireless for their guitars and bass and all that. They really need to control the wireless in the building very carefully so as not to have different frequencies step on one another. So there's generally like a master scan that we'll do every day, print out a whole bunch of clean frequencies, and then they'll start assigning the frequencies to every performer and everybody that needs wireless. And so you need, long story short, a wireless system that allows you to, you know, select a frequency, tune right into that. That can be really important when you're doing bigger tours. Okay, that's it for today. Thanks for joining me, and yeah, hit me up at facebook.com/guitarnerd with any Facebook message questions that you've got, and I will get to them as soon as I can. I've got another new demo video coming out tomorrow, and I'm going to have another one ready for the weekend. So I'm back at it, making a few of these videos before I got to head back to Europe. Hey, thanks for joining me here. Hit subscribe if you haven't, and I will see you real soon. I'm Pete Thorn. Over and out.